Good morning, everybody. This is Colton Lord. This is the Miles 17 podcast, and you are back for another episode of Coffee with Colt. I, again, am so happy to be here. I am talking about something today that makes me a little sweaty when I talk about it, but I think it's important and it's a part of my journey, part of my life, and it's something that I am going to talk about because I feel like it is going to help somebody. And even if this only reaches one person out there and helps you, I feel like that means the world to me. So I'm going to talk about my journey to GAYDOM. Yes, I called it GAYDOM because, stardom. Because I feel like this is an ongoing process, ongoing journey. I don't think I've hit my destination in this journey to figuring out who I am and what it means to be gay, what it means to be a part of the LGBTQ plus community. And so I just wanted to talk about it and kind of give you my insight, my personal perspective, and how I've gotten to this point in my life. So I grew up in a very small town of about 10,000 people in rural Northeast Arizona. And you could say that it's not the most progressive place in the world. I didn't grow up knowing anybody that was gay. Maybe maybe like one or two people that I knew of, and it was always a joke. It was always they were always not taken seriously. It was funny to talk about them. And so I just didn't have like examples. And when I was growing up, you didn't see any of this on TV. Nobody talked about it. I don't know about anywhere else, but where I lived, nobody talked about it. Hello, Kona. So happy you popped in today to see us. Hello, baby girl. Okay. Don't mind her. She's hyper. I need to take her out after this. But what is she looking at? Oh, she sees her ball on the counter because she eats the ball. So I have to put it up on the counter. So if you're watching this on video, you can see her standing there wagging her tail. So, anyways, back to what I was saying. I grew up, yes, small town, not progressive. Growing up in the early 2000s, late 90s, I didn't really you don't have examples of people who are part of this community showing you that it's safe, it's okay to express yourself and to allow you to be the person that you really are at your core. And so I never really had the language, I never really had the vision. I didn't know how to be me. And so I felt like for a lot of my life, I was pretending to be somebody that I really wasn't. I didn't know how to be me. I was suppressing these feelings and these thoughts that I had because I honestly didn't even believe they were real. I remember just like, for like things that I would watch growing up, like High School Musical and stuff like that. Like, of course, like I was attracted to the men that were on screen, but like I didn't know how to navigate those feelings and those thoughts that I was having. I don't really know what I thought. I didn't know if I thought maybe everybody kind of has like this little feeling and that it's just something that we just have to like hide away. It'll go away eventually and to just suppress it. And so that's what I did. And, I never told anybody how I felt. Growing up as a little boy, like I remember like I wanted to play with Barbies, but I wasn't allowed to. I remember my sister and her friend putting makeup on me at one point and like I wasn't supposed to or allowed to like that. And I look back and I think to myself, like, had I been allowed to express myself, like how different, would I be? And I don't regret any of it. I don't wish any of it would have been different at this point because I love who I am now. And I think I have grown a lot. And a lot of who I am stems from all that I had gone through and all that stuff that I had to work through in my head and to figuring out, myself and going through that self-expression journey. And so anyways, again, that was me as a little boy. As I, continued to kind of grow up and into like middle school and things like that, like I never wanted to do the things that like the boys were wanting to do. I had a lot of, scary thoughts and traumas around going into boys' locker rooms. Like didn't want to be in a crowd of boys. I didn't vibe. I didn't fit with the banter that like junior high boys were, you know, saying and the things that they were doing. Like I thought they were disgusting and it just wasn't my vibe. But it was hard because on the flip side of that, like I loved sports. Like I enjoyed playing. I that was such a like it, I feel like that could have been a very important part of my upbringing, was being able to play sports and allow myself to, have that experience. But when I was on these sports teams and I would try out for these teams and be at practice, like I was always terrified. I couldn't even think. Like, so I can't even imagine, I was usually a bench player. I didn't really get to play a lot once I got into the, junior high, high school level because part of it maybe just because of the skill level, but the other part of it was like I couldn't even give myself the space and the time to really focus in and work on the craft of sports because I was just scared. Like every day I was there, I was terrified, I didn't want to be there, and it freaked me out. And I remember during this time I had a lot of girlfriends. Like, I just mean like friends who were girls. Like, that was where I felt comfortable. That's where I felt connected. And I always had this pressure that I was like, okay, I need to make sure I have like a certain number of friends that are guys that like kind of like shakes this up a little bit and makes me look like, I'm a straight dude. And I had a really, really hard time making guy friends. I always felt that connection and that closeness with girls. And growing up, going through all these phases of life and being a teenager and all the raging hormones, like I had girlfriends and I liked them and I was attracted to them. And when I look back at, these people that I dated and all that, like I never felt at the time that like I didn't like them or that I was not attracted to them. And it's a hard thing for me to even explain and put into words because people are like, well, I mean, if you're gay, like how does that even make sense? And I guess the best way that I explain it to people is like, it's a spectrum. Like there's even today, I'm with a man, I'm in love with a man, but I can still, admire like the beauty of a woman. And a woman can walk into a room and I can be like, wow, they're really attractive, and like have those like attracted feelings to people. Like that's normal, that's human nature. So yes, what I'm trying to say is that it's sexuality to me is a spectrum. Like I'm not one who thinks that you're gay, you're straight, you're straight. Like I think we all have kind of a spectrum of what we're attracted to, who we're attracted to, and this can change. Like this can ebb and flow throughout your life. And if you're, playing with these ideas of, maybe you just went through a breakup or whatever is happening in your life and you're having these thoughts, like explore it, like allow yourself and your body to feel those things. Like if you've always identified as somebody who's gay and has always been with the same gender, and all of a sudden you're having these feelings of like, oh, maybe I am attracted to the opposite sex, like give yourself that space and that time and try it out. You don't know. And like I said, like these things can change throughout your life. It's not like you have to choose this one thing and that's the path you're going down forever. Like it's okay to allow yourself to realize that this is a spectrum and that like things can change. Okay, so back to me growing up. So as I got into, yes, my high school years, I think, around that time when you're going and having all these raging hormones and all these things are going on in your body and you're having these weird feelings, like I think I think subconsciously I started to know like, okay, like this is more than just like a feeling that I can like just brush away. But again, I never acted on it. I didn't know how to. And to me, I was like, I'm going to be damned to hell. I am not going to be accepted in my community, in my family, in my friend group. Like, I'm going to be totally shunned, and people are going to find out this thing about me. And I'm not going to have a place here. Like, I'm going to have to be on my own. And that really scared me because, I didn't want my parents to think certain things of me. I didn't want my friends and my, extended family to be like, "Oh, like Colton's been just like hiding this his whole life. Like that he's not even the person that he says he is." Like those were the things that I was afraid of. And again, like I never had anybody who like mirrored the way that I was feeling or thinking. And, growing up, all I heard were jokes about gay people and about, just like nasty talk and just like things that, were like pressed into my brain that I was like, I am never going to be able to express this. I'm going to literally have to live with this secret for the rest of my life. And again, I think at this time, this was more of a subconscious thought. I think that I was honestly still convincing myself that, like, no, you're straight. Like this, again, like these things will pass. It was more of a subconscious knowing, but consciously, I was like, nah, like that ain't me. Like it's all good. And I think it was more confusing for me because again, like I had attraction to women. Like it wasn't like I was repulsed by being with women or that I didn't love the people that I was with because I had some amazing experiences and relationships with women. And now that I'm looking back on it, it's more of like I think I felt a deeper connection to them as a friendship, like I had so much love for them as who they were as people and like the friendship that we actually had that it made being with them in a romantic way easier because I just loved them as people. And so I think that even brought me more confusion because I was like, okay, like I can be with these women, I can have sex with these women. So what's the matter? You know, it's I'm doing fine. Like this is all right. I can handle this. I can do this. And after college, I was with the same girl, same woman through, the back half of college into my post college life. And our relationship had just kind of gotten to a point and she decided to break up with me and I was devastated. It really 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 took a toll on me and I didn't even know which way to look. I didn't know what to do with myself and I remember just like feeling so devastated. And again, hindsight's 2020. It's easier for me to kind of look back on these feelings and think like, okay, what I think was going on with me was that I knew, again, maybe subconsciously, but I knew that that particular woman was probably the last that I would ever be with in a relationship because I loved her so much and I knew I could make a life work with her, although maybe it wasn't best for either of us. Actually, I know it wasn't best for either of us. Like we had such a mutual understanding, love and respect for one another that that's what made it so hard to kind of go our separate ways was that we were friends before and then we were together for a while and then we just ended it. And so it was like, how do we even know which direction to go here? And for me, it kind of opened up this world of opportunity for me, which at the time, again, I was so devastated, but I think it ended up being the biggest blessing in my life. And I think that she did, although, the decision was for her. She wasn't happy in the relationship anymore. She saw something I didn't see, which was a better life for herself without me. And that's okay. Like I've totally accepted that. And I think it's beautiful that she was able to take our years of beautiful, wonderful friendship and then relationship and be like, this isn't working. Like we need to go our separate ways. And had she not done that, I don't know where we'd be right now. Like we may be still together and just kind of going through the motions and not living a life that's like true and authentic for both of us. And it gave me this world of opportunity because once the dust settled and I was able to just like be by myself, be in my own thoughts, and really look at my life, I thought, like, okay, I've always had these thoughts, I've always had these feelings. I've never acted on any of these thoughts or feelings, but let's see how this goes. So, to myself, again, I wasn't telling anybody. I was doing all this just like secretly because I was scared. I was so terrified. I would get a dating app. I'd get on it. You can switch them to men or women or both. I would like switch it over to both or switch it over to men, swipe through, maybe like talk to a couple people, and then like I would panic, turn it all off, delete the app, and be done. Like I was literally terrified. And and when I finally met my partner, Kai, bless him, because that gosh, it's gotta be so hard to, like, meet somebody who's, like, going through this journey, especially as an adult, and to embrace them, and he was a secret of mine for a while before I let anybody know. Like, he was a secret, and I would go see him. I would even my roommates didn't know. Like, if they weren't home, I would, like, have him over at my house, but for the most part, I was just kinda going to his apartment, and we were just, like, kinda living this secret life, and when I look back on it, it was kind of a fun and, like, beautiful time for us because we didn't have to share our relationship publicly. It was just us, and we really got to know each other, and we even, like, traveled together, and nobody really knew. I shouldn't say nobody. I had let a couple friends and, my sister actually in on it and, kept it a secret for a while, and again, it was kind of a beautiful time, but also, like, how terrible that we had to do that, and kudos to Kai. Love him for it. Like, he loved me through it, and he really gave me the space to slowly come out of my shell and then to, share him with the world. And when I finally did, I remember I sent I sent both my parents just a text message because I was like, I can't handle, like, I don't want to see the reaction. I don't want to know. I just need to send this text message and let them process it and they can do with it what they will. And so I did. And my parents, both graciously, you know, both took it and processed it in their own ways. And at the end of the day, they both reached out to me very quickly and just told me how much they loved me no matter what. And, since then, yes, like there's been other conversations about just, how I got to this point and, more curiosity and wanting to kind of know more about my life. And so that part was really hard and scary for me. I am so grateful that both my parents have stuck around and loved me through it, and more like, and above and beyond that, because I know a lot of people don't have that support and don't have that love, and people have lost family and friends for just being who they are. There's still a lot of hate around this community, and I think there always will be some. It's not ever going to fully go away. But what I see a lot now is like what used to be what people would, be so taboo and make fun of were gay people. It's kind of turned into this like, now we're going to throw shade and hate at trans people. And to me, it's such bullshit because it's like, who are you to look at somebody and ridicule and judge them for how they express themselves, whether that be who they choose to love, what they choose to do with their life, or their gender identity? Because the thing is it doesn't affect you. What somebody chooses to do with their gender and how they express themselves and, their pronouns or however they want to identify, like, who are you to judge them and to ridicule them and to make them feel less than a human because you can't process that because you've not done the therapy or the work to understand somebody and realize that people are people are going through and walking down their own path, and you have no idea what it's like. I have no idea what it's like to live in a body and feel totally disconnected in the sense of gender identity and just feel like this is not who I am. Because imagine that, like, you have this one body, this one life, and if you don't connect with that and you don't identify with what you've been given biologically, like, why would you want to stay in that state? Like, that's why people, go through this process, and it's not an easy process to transition from one gender to another. It's a lot of hormones, surgeries, procedures, the mental taxation that it takes on you. And then you have to deal with society and people who want to ridicule you for who you're just trying to be, so you can live just like them, their most authentic and beautiful life. This is taking me a lot of work. Like, I have done a lot of self work and personal growth and personal development around just this idea of just expressing myself and being comfortable with it, because even sometimes now, like, depending on the situation or where I'm at, and if, reading the room and the energy, like, I can still sometimes find myself like embarrassed or scared or afraid to, be just who I am and be gay and like love that I'm like with a man and embrace that. It's gotten a lot less. Like, it happens very seldom, but like it still happens and it's bullshit. And I just, the point of this is to hopefully help somebody to realize that you're important and you matter and you belong here. You belong here on this earth. You belong here to create your life and create the most beautiful, authentic life for yourself and the people around you. You choose who to be around and create your own family and build your own community. And it's so beautiful. Like, I really recommend anyone that's, wanting to express themselves and not exactly sure how to, and they may think that they're gay or may think that they're bisexual or anything in the LGBTQ plus community. I really, really, really recommend you, if you have access to, indulging yourself in these communities. Places like Los Angeles, Boston, New York City, Chicago, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland. Like, these cities are like so inclusive and so welcoming to this community that when you're there, you're just like, oh, it's like not taboo here to like be who I am. Like, I lived in Phoenix for a long time, and granted, it's a city, like, there's people of all walks of life there. But it's so different when you get somewhere. Like, I've been in Boston now for a couple of years, and it's just amazing how out here you can just feel. You walk into a room, you walk into a gym, you walk into work, like, you don't even have to think twice about it because there's so many people who are like you, who, like, everybody else, like, it's just they're just part of just a human, just a part of the people. Like, it's not this big, like, oh, there's Colton, like, he's the gay one. Like, that's just not, I don't know, it's weird. It doesn't exist out here. Like, of course there's gonna be prejudice, there's gonna be hate anywhere you go. I just mean as like a collective and as like a majority, like when you go somewhere in a city like this, like it's not like you're being looked at like you're some alien from outer space because you are kissing somebody of the same gender. I could really, really go on and on about this topic because I'm so, so passionate about it, obviously, because I think I feel lucky in the sense that I feel like I'm a strong person. I have weak moments, but I feel at the end of the day, I'm a strong person and I have a strong personality to the sense that I know who I am and I'm learning more and more about myself every day. It's a constant journey and constant growth. But I think a lot of people, that's why the suicide rates are so high among people of this community, of the LGBTQ plus community, because it is so hard. Like, as humans, like, we need connection, we need community. And so when you feel like you're being exiled for just literally being who you are, like, it's no wonder that these people, like, don't want to be here anymore, because, like, imagine just being totally shunned for something that's like so important to us as far as love and community and being embraced by people. And I that's why I'm so passionate about this, because I understand where these people are coming from. And I remember how low and how just like shitty that feeling is of like, how do I tell these people who I really am? Like, most people don't have to do that. Most people don't have to come out and announce and be like, "Hey, guess what? This is me. I'm gay." Like, nobody has to come out and be like, "Oh my gosh, mom and dad, I'm straight." Like, I've seen jokes like in like TikTok videos that are hilarious that are like, like millennial parents when their kid comes to them and says, "Mom, I'm straight," and then the parents start crying like they're so sad that they're not gay. Like, it's just funny. And so at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is, like, please fully embrace yourself. Like, if nobody else makes you feel it, like, you're safe here. This is a community that you can come to, and just realize that there's so many people out there and there is a community for you. You just have to find it. If you're, stuck in a smaller town, or you're in maybe a city that's not as inclusive and embracing of who you are, like, do everything in your power to get out of there and get somewhere where you feel included, loved, and somewhere that you can walk down the street and not have to worry about the hate that you're going to receive because of who you are. That's why I love these cities. Like, I love play. I've always been fascinated with places like New York City, because I think that it's just the collective of people that are there and the walks of life that are all just meshed together is so beautiful, because it gives you so much perspective and makes you realize that, like, you're really never alone. Like, somebody's always going through something, someone's always battling something similar to you, and that there's community everywhere. You just have to find it. I did want to mention this one thing before we end this conversation, is when I started posting things and coming out that I was gay and being open about it. I had a high school classmate reach out to me who I had played sports with, and he really rubbed me the wrong way and tried to tell me, like, "Oh, like, you should have just like told us that you were gay." And like, I was like, "Really? Really?" Because me, being that young teenage kid, like, I already was getting like bullied and like getting questions, and like every day was being asked, like, "Colton, are you gay?" Like, just because I had like all these friends that were girls, or like my mannerisms are more feminine. And I always had to be like, "No, no, no," and like constantly trying to defend myself and constantly trying to figure out a way to look more straight. And so for him to just tell me like, "Oh, like, you should have just told us," like, really devalued my experience, and just made me realize that, like, people really don't understand. Like, you really don't understand what it's like to have to hide who you are every single day, and to be on the defense and be terrified for years on end for just being who you are. So, if you know somebody that's going through this, or you have somebody in your life that you think might be struggling with their sexuality, don't outright come out to them and be like, "Dude, are you gay? Or are you lesbian? Or do you like girls? Do you like boys?" Like, don't ask those kind of questions. Like, just know and make them feel safe. Like, just make them know that they're safe. Like, for example, if you shared something on your social media that just had something to do with pride and like anything to support, that movement, like that's going to show them that you're an ally, that you are a safe space to go when they are ready to talk about it. And that's just one example. Like there's other ways to just like subtly like make people know that they're okay and that they're safe. And it's hard for me to give like parenting advice on this because I'm not a parent and I don't know how I would have navigated this. Like I said, my parents were raising me in late 90s, early 2000s. And that's I'm sure that it was difficult for them. Like, and I don't feel any ill feelings towards my parents because they were doing the best they could with the knowledge that they had and the way that they were raised. And like, they didn't understand this community. And I don't know if they ever even actually thought that maybe I could be gay. Like, I think that if they did, maybe they were in denial about it. Like, I don't know. And I honestly don't really care because that was their journey and they were amazing parents and other aspects. And this was a journey that I had to go down. And now, they're a part of it and they've embraced me and have completely loved me for who I am and my partner as well. And that's really all I can ask for. And like I said, I don't think that I would change how my life went or my childhood went because there's a reason that I went through it. And if that is to help people now to not have to go through it, then so be it. Like, I'm glad that I can be this vehicle and be this light for somebody else who might need to hear it. The message that I really want to send here in this episode is to just be embracing and just love people for who they are and allow them to express themselves in whatever way is best for them. And if it makes you uncomfortable, that's work that you need to figure out. That's not for them to figure out. That's for you. And just realize that everybody's here going through the human experience and that we all just want love, community, and connection and to be embraced for being our full selves. So if you love this episode, please share it on your social media, Instagram, Facebook. You can subscribe on YouTube at Colton Lord. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Colton Lord 17. You can follow my Facebook page. Just whatever you can to be a part of this community and to help this show grow is amazing and super helpful. Thank you for coming along and listening to my journey to being gay and accepting myself. And for me to even be able to get on here on camera and say the words that I am gay is huge and life changing. And I never in a million years thought I would be at this point in my life. And I sometimes just want to wrap like 15-year-old Colton up in my arms and just like hug him and just be like, it's going to be okay. Like, you're going to be fine. Just keep going. So that's what I got for you today. Cheers to you. Have some coffee. And if you do one thing today, just make sure people know that they're loved and accepted and that you're part of their community and in their circle. So this is the Mile 17 podcast. This is Colton Lord, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.